day was cleaning the playfield and put the first two coats of clear on it. The next time I worked on it, the second day, was wet sanding the playfield, leveling the inserts, wet sanding again, and laying the final two coats of clear on. And then this is the third day. We're going to be wet sanding and doing the final buffing, cleaning, and at that point it'll be ready for reassembly. Last two coats, they came out good, but they're not anywhere near perfect. I'm not the best sprayer in the world. If you had a better spray, you probably wouldn't have a lot of wet sanding to do. I have a lot of little bumps and vapor pops here or there that I need to sand out. I also need to work on these inserts a little more as far as sanding goes. So I'm going to be starting with 600 grit wet dry sandpaper. All this sanding's done wet, again with my warm water with a drop of dish soap in it. So I'm going to go 600, 800, 1000, 1200, 1500, and my last sanding will be with 2000 grit. It sounds like a lot, but it's really not. It's maybe 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes per grit of sandpaper. So it's really not that bad. That's what we're going to do, and then after that, we'll do the buffing. I'll show you that. So here we are. We're going to start the wet sanding. Like I said, 600 grit, wet dry sandpaper. And we're going to get going on it. The nice thing about sanding this time, as opposed to the other day when I started wet sanding, is that day the playfield was more unlevel, and I had a lot more little issues with it. And the sanding was kind of hard, you know, because you'd hit high spots and low spots. But now the playfield is so level after these last two coats that I am putting no effort into this sanding whatsoever. You know, it is just real easy to do. And that's why this whole process, even though I said all those different grits that I'm going to be using, you know, it's going to go real quick. Nothing exciting about this process, but this is what makes the ultimate final finish, you know, totally glass-like. So I'm going to continue with this. Like I said, going to step through the grits, and I'll probably come back when I'm on the final sanding. Just finished the 2000 wet dry sandpaper cleaning, wet sanding, and as you can see, it made quite the mess. You can see all that white gunky stuff all over the place. So before I buff, we need to get all that off. We don't want that getting mixed in with the polishing compound. I don't think that would be very good. So first I'm just going to wipe it down just to get a lot of this surface milky water off. But the next problem we have, it's probably my least favorite part of doing a playfield. Down in all the holes, there's all kinds of white gunk. So for that, air gun and my airline, and I'm just going to blow all this stuff out. Now you don't have to go crazy with this step, because when you do your buffing, you're also going to get a bunch of gunk in the holes. I just like to get the majority of the wet sanding stuff off before I do the polishing, and then we'll do the polishing. Then you're going to have to do this pretty much all over again. And then after I do this, I'll go in with a Q-tip and some Windex. Something, you know, something like Windex, maybe Nuvis 1, some kind of light cleaner. You don't want to use heavy cleaner. And I'll get in here and I'll clean out all the slots and the holes. And just get the majority of that gunk out of there. And then I'll clean up the whole playfield. And then we'll be ready for buffing. Alright, we got that cleaned up pretty good. You can already see it's got a pretty good shine to it. Each time you step the grit of the wet sandpaper up, you know, 1000, 1200, it starts getting shinier, 1500, it's looking even better. By the time you get to 2000, you know, you've already kind of did a buffing on the playfield. You know, it's already got a pretty decent shine on it. But to bring up the shine even more, that's when we bring out the buffer. So I'm going to start with my Wen 4-inch buffer with a medium cut rubbing compound. And then we're going to go to a swirl remover. And then we're going to finish up with Nuvis 2. And first, I want to get the pad on the buffer kind of soaked in. This gets messy. Gonna kind of rub that in. A little bit goes a long way on this. You don't want to be putting so much on that you're spraying it kind of all over the place, because that'll make a big mess. And it'll get stuck down in these holes, and it's a pain in the neck to clean. I mean, you're going to get buffing compound down in these holes. You really can't avoid it. But all I'm doing is I'm just putting a little dab on the buffing wheel. And I'm just going to kind of work that around by hand to try to get the whole playfield kind of covered with it. Because if you just put a dab on here and turn the buffing wheel on, you're going to be wearing it. So I much prefer to do this. And then once we get that on there, we'll kind of start buffing. This is a random orbit. This is more what you want. Puts nice little swirls on the playfield. But it really does a good job. And the other good thing is you can't burn the clear coat. If you're just using an arbor on your drill and you push down too hard, you can actually burn right through the clear coat or leave a little mar on the clear coat. So this process shouldn't take all that long. But once we get done with this medium cut, we'll switch to the swirl remover. That helps to get rid of some of the swirl marks that this rougher compound left on the playfield. When especially the fluorescent lights hit it, you'll see little swirls. Just like on your car, if you've ever done this buffing process on your car. The swirl remover helps to eliminate that. And then by the time we get down to our final buff with the Nuvis 2, this playfield will be pretty much, perfectly looking like a sheet of glass. So we just got done with the last buffing with the Nuvis 2. You can see the playfield's a little dull. It's because that last coat of Nuvis 2 is on there and it's kind of dried up a little bit. So what I'm going to do next is take a nice clean dry buffing wheel. Got my nice clean dry wheel on here. We're going to see what we got here under all this dried up compound. Doesn't take much, and as you can see, that's got a real nice shine to it. So now what we got to do is we got to clean out all this gunk, because just like when we did the wet sanding, a bunch of buffing compound got in the slots and the holes and the cracks. So I'm going to do my best to clean all that out, and then we'll once we get that all clean, I'll probably go over it one more time with Nuvis, and then buff that off, and then we'll be done. That'll be it. And you can see that this playfield looks pretty good. Now what I like to do is I don't like to reassemble it right away. The clear still is a little soft. I mean, it's only been basically a day since I did the final coat, a day or two. So I like to let this sit for about 2 weeks, just so it can fully cure. And then after that, I'll give it a good waxing, and then I'll start putting it back together. Like I said, this is the end of day 3 of working on this clear coat project. Total time is maybe 5 hours, maybe 6 hours that I have invested in this. So it's well worth it to do it yourself. I hope this video may have helped you. You can always email me if you have any questions, and there's plenty of information on the web about this. Like I said, pinrepair.com is probably your best text resource for reading about doing this process. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and now that I got this project done, I'll be moving on to something else. This is PinDude from VintagePinballStore.com. Talk to you guys later.